The day I stopped speaking was the day I watched my sister die. My hands moved in steady circles across the marble floor, the scrub brush wearing away at 8 years of grime and lies. Around me, the Shadow Moon pack house buzzed with activity, wolves preparing for tomorrow's ceremony. None of them looked at me. That's how I liked it. I'd perfected invisibility. Keep your head down, your mouth shut, and they forget you're even there. Move, mute. A boot nearly caught my shoulder as one of the younger wolves stepped over me, laughing with his friends. I shifted aside without looking up, my face blank as stone. Inside, my heart hammered. It always did. Because staying silent wasn't natural, it was survival. The bucket of dirty water sloshed as I stood, my knees protesting. At 26, I felt twice that age. 8 years of scrubbing floors and swallowing words will do that to a woman. I hoisted the bucket and headed toward the kitchens, my bare feet silent on the cold stone. Elara. I turned. Mira stood in the doorway, flour dusting her dark hair. She was the closest thing I had to a friend here, though I'd never told her why I couldn't speak. Never told anyone. She signed quickly, fingers flying. You okay? You look pale. I nodded, forcing a small smile. Mira was one of the few who'd bothered to learn sign language for me. Most just assumed I was simple-minded along with mute. Her brow furrowed, but before she could press, heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Beta Marcus emerged, his massive frame filling the corridor. Every wolf in the vicinity immediately straightened, including Mira. Listen up. His voice boomed through the pack house. Conversations died. The Alpha King arrives at dawn. Every surface better shine, every meal better be perfect. This is the claiming ceremony, our chance to show Shadow Moon's strength. My fingers tightened on the bucket handle. Marcus continued, oblivious. Any unmated female will present herself. Any servant will serve flawlessly. The king's tolerance for failure is. He smiled coldly. Non-existent. The wolves dispersed quickly, nervous energy crackling through the air. I remained frozen, water from my bucket dripping onto the floor. Elara? Myra's hand touched my arm. I looked at her, and for just a second, I let her see the terror I'd been hiding. Her eyes widened. Then I pulled away, dumping the water and disappearing before she could ask questions I couldn't answer. The servant quarters were cramped, cold, and blessedly empty this time of day. My room was barely large enough for a cot and a battered trunk, but it was mine. I locked the door, a luxury I'd paid for with 3 months of extra shifts, and sank onto the thin mattress. My hands shook as I reached under the bed, pulling out the wooden box I'd hidden there 8 years ago. Don't open it, I told myself, the same command I gave every time the fear got too strong. You know what's inside. Leave it alone. But my fingers were already lifting the lid. Lyssa's necklace lay coiled inside, the silver chain tarnished, the moonstone pendant cracked straight down the middle. I'd found it clutched in her hand after. I squeezed my eyes shut, but the memory came anyway. It always did. Blood. So much blood. Lyssa's green eyes, mirror images of my own, staring at nothing. Her throat torn open. The pack house in chaos. And the whispered words that had sent me running. The king found out she tried to break the bond. Made an example of her. They say there's a twin sister. The prophecy demands both. If one's dead, he'll come for the other. I'd had maybe an hour to decide. Stay and die, or disappear. So I disappeared into the one disguise no one would question. I'd become the mute servant girl, just another broken wolf without a voice. For 8 years, I'd scrubbed floors and served meals and swallowed every scream that wanted to claw its way out of my throat. Because the Alpha King didn't just kill Lyssa. He destroyed her for refusing to be his mate, for denying some ancient prophecy that I'd never fully understood. And he was coming back. Beneath the necklace lay a scrap of paper, edges burned black. The letter had arrived the night before Lyssa died, delivered by a hooded stranger who'd vanished into the darkness. The writing was shaky, desperate. "They're coming for us both. The prophecy won't let us go. If you love your life, sister, stay silent or die." Lyssa hadn't stayed silent. She'd fought. She'd raged against being some man's destiny. And it had gotten her killed. I traced the words with one finger, my throat tight with grief and fury I could never express. Tomorrow, the Alpha King would arrive. Tomorrow, he'd look at every unmated female with those dead, cold eyes everyone whispered about. Would he see me? Would he somehow know that the mute servant was the twin who'd vanished? I started to close the box when I heard it. Footsteps. Not the usual clatter of wolves moving through the quarters. These were measured. Deliberate. They stopped right outside my door. My breath caught. I shoved the box under the bed, heart slamming against my ribs. A shadow fell across the gap beneath my door. Someone stood there, silent and still. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Then whoever it was moved on, their footsteps fading down the hallway. I sagged against the wall, telling myself I was paranoid. No one suspected. I'd been so careful. But as I moved to the tiny window, barely more than a slit in the stone, to let in some air, a shadow passed by outside. Too large to be human. Too purposeful to be wandering. And then I heard it. A voice, deep and dark as midnight, carrying through the glass. I can smell fear from a mile away. My blood turned to ice. The shadow paused right outside my window. I couldn't see a face, just the silhouette of a man, or wolf, backlit by the moon. He stood there for 3 heartbeats. Then he laughed, low and knowing, and walked away. I pressed my back against the wall, hand over my mouth to keep from making a sound. But inside, I was screaming. Because that voice wasn't Beta Marcus. It wasn't anyone from Shadow Moon Pack. And the Alpha King wasn't supposed to arrive until dawn. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my cot, Lyssa's necklace clutched in my hand, watching the window as the moon crawled across the sky. He's here, I thought. He's already here, and somehow he knows. 8 years of silence. 8 years of hiding. And in one night, it might all come crashing down. When the first fingers of dawn crept through the window, I finally moved. I tucked the necklace under my shirt, feeling the cool metal against my skin. Then I splashed water on my face, braided my hair, and pulled on my servant's dress. In the cracked mirror above my basin, my reflection stared back. Green eyes hollow with exhaustion. Face too thin. But alive. You survived this long, I told myself. One more day. Just one more day. I opened my door and stepped into the hallway. The pack house was already in controlled chaos, wolves running everywhere, barking orders. I fell into step with the other servants, keeping my head down, my face blank. But as I rounded the corner toward the kitchens, I nearly collided with someone. Strong hands caught my shoulders, steadying me. I looked up. And found myself staring into the coldest eyes I'd ever seen. The Alpha King smiled down at me, all sharp edges and dark promise. Careful, he said softly. Wouldn't want you to fall. Then he released me and walked past, leaving me frozen in the hallway. He'd touched me. Looked right at me. And I knew, with bone-deep certainty, that my 8 years of silence had just run out. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 2. I made it to the kitchens on legs that felt like water. There you are. Mira grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the preparation tables. They've moved everything up. He's already here, can you believe it? Arrived in the middle of the night like some kind of. She stopped, reading my face. What's wrong? I shook my head, reaching for an apron with trembling fingers. Nothing. Everything. The Alpha King had touched me, looked at me, and every instinct screamed that he'd known something. But that was impossible. I was just another servant. Invisible. All servants to the great hall. Beta Marcus's voice boomed through the corridors. The king requires formal presentation. Mira squeezed my hand once before we filed out with the others, a silent line of servants in gray dresses and downcast eyes. My heart hammered as we entered the massive hall where the pack gathered for ceremonies. Alpha Silas stood at the front, looking smaller than usual. Our pack leader was a big man, broad-shouldered and confident, but today he looked like a boy called before the headmaster. Sweat gleamed on his forehead despite the morning chill. Because standing beside him, dominating the entire room with his presence, was Cale Darkmoor. I'd heard the stories. Everyone had. The Alpha King who'd united the wolf territories through blood and fear. Who'd killed 12 alphas who'd challenged his rule, tearing them apart in the ceremonial ring while their packs watched. Who was blessed, or cursed, by the moon goddess herself with power no wolf should possess. The stories hadn't prepared me for the reality. He was tall, easily 6'5", with the kind of build that came from real fighting, not ceremony. Dark hair fell to his shoulders, and his face could have been carved from granite, all sharp angles and brutal beauty. He wore black, simple and expensive, and he moved like violence wrapped in skin. But it was his eyes that stopped my breath. Gray, like storm clouds before lightning strikes. And completely, utterly empty. I'd seen killers before. Wolves who enjoyed the hunt, the blood. Their eyes held fire, madness, hunger. Cale's eyes held nothing at all. My king. Alpha Silas bowed low. Shadow Moon Pack is honored by your presence. Is it? Cale's voice carried through the hall, smooth and cold. That's not what I heard. Silas went pale. I assure you. I heard Shadow Moon's been skimming territory taxes. Trading with rogue packs. Hiding unmated females from the registry. Cale walked slowly along the line of assembled wolves, his gaze touching each one like a blade. Should I continue? There's been a misunderstanding. There usually is. Cale stopped, turning to face Silas fully. Here's how this works. I'll conduct the claiming ceremony as scheduled. I'll inspect your pack, your lands, your records. And if I find you've been honest, we'll have no problems. He smiled, and it was terrifying. If I find you've lied to me, I'll remove you and install someone more trustworthy. Are we clear? Crystal, my king. Good. Cale's attention shifted to the assembled pack. Now. Show me what you've got. The presentation was humiliating and efficient. Silas called forward the warriors first, then the hunters, then the families. Cale barely looked at most of them, nodding occasionally, his face bored. Then came the unmated females. I watched as one by one, they stepped forward. Beautiful women, strong wolves, all hoping to catch the king's eye. The prize of becoming Luna Queen was worth the risk of his reputation. Cale rejected each one without a word, sometimes without even looking. Is that all? He finally asked. All the eligible females, yes, my king. What about servants? The question hung in the air. Silas blinked. Servants, my king? You have them, don't you? Or does Shadow Moon's alpha scrub his own floors? Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Silas gestured, and Beta Marcus barked an order. Our line of servants shuffled forward, and I kept my eyes on the ground, willing myself to disappear. Look at me. The command wasn't loud, but every servant's head snapped up as if yanked by strings. Including mine. Cale walked down our line slowly. I felt his gaze sweep over me, and electricity shot through my body like I'd been struck by lightning. Every hair on my arms stood up. My wolf, silent for 8 years, stirred for the first time since Lyssa died. No, I begged silently. Please, no. His boots stopped in front of me. I could see them in my peripheral vision, expensive leather, perfectly still. What's your name? The question wasn't for me, it was for Silas. I didn't dare look up. That's the mute, my king. Elara. She's been here, 8 years, I believe. 8 years. Cale's voice was thoughtful. Interesting. He moved on. I released a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. The presentation ended, and we were dismissed to prepare for the evening's feast. I escaped to the kitchens, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold a knife. He looked at you. Mira appeared at my elbow, eyes wide. Did you feel that? It was like recognition, I thought. Like he was searching for something. I shook my head and focused on chopping vegetables, but my mind raced. 8 years. He'd noticed I'd been here 8 years. The same amount of time since Lyssa died. That couldn't be coincidence. By evening, the great hall had been transformed. Candles everywhere, tables groaning with food, flowers I didn't recognize filling the air with heavy perfume. The pack's finest wore their best clothes, hoping to impress the king. I wore my servant's gray and carried platters. Cale sat at the head table with Alpha Silas and the senior wolves, his advisor Lord Brennan at his right hand. Brennan was older, sharp-featured, with eyes that missed nothing. He leaned close to Cale frequently, whispering things that made the king's expression shift from bored to thoughtful. I'd been assigned to serve their table. Of course. Wine, my king? I heard one of the other servants ask. No. She scurried away. I approached with a platter of meat, keeping my face blank, my hands steady through sheer force of will. The territory dispute with Red Creek, Silas was saying. We believe we can resolve it peacefully. I don't care about Red Creek. Cale cut him off. I care about what you're hiding. Silas's fork clattered against his plate. Hiding, my king? Everyone's hiding something. Cale leaned back, his gray eyes surveying the room. The question is whether it's worth my time to dig it out. I set the platter down carefully and started to retreat. 8 years ago, Cale said, and I froze. There was an incident. A female who refused the mate bond. You remember? The hall had gone quiet, everyone straining to hear. Silas cleared his throat. Yes, my king. A visiting wolf. It was handled. Handled. Cale's voice was flat. She was murdered. She attacked. She was murdered because she rejected her fate. Cale's fingers drummed on the table. And there was talk of a sister. A twin. My heart stopped. I wouldn't know about that, my king, Silas said carefully. The female came alone. Did she? Lord Brennan spoke for the first time, his voice oily. Because the records show 2 females registered at the border. Both with the bloodline markers. Perhaps one left before the incident. Perhaps. Cale's eyes swept the room again, and this time they landed on me. Really landed, pinning me in place. Or perhaps she simply learned to hide better. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. His gaze held mine, and I felt that electricity again, stronger now, like lightning building in my veins. Then he looked away, reaching for his wine glass. These things have a way of surfacing. I backed away from the table on wooden legs. The silent one, I heard Brennan murmur. She's been here 8 years as well. Odd coincidence. There are no coincidences, Cale replied. Only patterns we haven't recognized yet. I made it to the kitchen doorway before my knees gave out. Mira caught me, holding me upright. What's happening? She signed frantically. I shook my head. I couldn't explain. Couldn't tell her that the king was hunting for me, that he somehow knew Lyssa had a twin, that my 8 years of safety were crumbling by the second. Back to work, Beta Marcus growled, appearing in the doorway. The king wants more wine. I grabbed a fresh bottle with shaking hands and returned to the hall. The feast had grown louder, wolves drinking and laughing, the earlier tension dissolving. I approached Cale's table from behind, preparing to pour. His conversation with Brennan was low, but I heard it clearly. Searching for the other one. If the prophecy's true, we need both. My king? I hadn't meant to make a sound, but the bottle clinked against his glass. Cale turned, looking up at me. This close, his eyes weren't empty at all. They were calculating, intelligent, and fixed on me with predatory focus. I poured the wine, my hands steady through sheer desperation. And then he moved, quick as a snake, and his elbow knocked the glass. Wine spilled everywhere, across the table, onto his clothes, splashing toward me. I gasped. The sound escaped before I could stop it, a sharp intake of breath that carried through the suddenly quiet hall. Every eye turned to me. I caught myself immediately, turning the gasp into a cough, bending over as if I'd choked on something. My face burned. My heart raced. When I straightened, Cale was watching me with narrowed eyes and a small, knowing smile. Clumsy, he said softly. But interesting reflexes for someone mute. I kept my face blank, signing an apology with trembling hands. It's fine. He waved me away. Accidents happen. I backed toward the kitchen, desperate to escape. Although. His voice cut through the hall like a blade, stopping me at the doorway. Every wolf froze, turning to look. Cale stood, his imposing figure commanding absolute attention. His gray eyes found mine across the room, and this time there was nothing cold about them. They burned. The mute servant. He gestured lazily in my direction. Bring her to my chambers. Now. The hall erupted in whispers. Beta Marcus moved toward me, his face grim. You heard the king. I couldn't run. Couldn't fight. Could only stand there as Marcus gripped my arm and began pulling me toward the corridor that led to the guest quarters. Toward Cale's chambers. Toward whatever fate I'd spent 8 years trying to escape. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 3. The walk to Cale's chambers felt like a death march. Beta Marcus's grip on my arm was iron, pulling me through corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. Behind us, I heard the feast continuing, laughter and music fading as we climbed the stairs to the guest wing. The finest rooms in the pack house. Reserved for visiting alphas and dignitaries. Reserved for kings. Marcus stopped at a heavy oak door, knocked twice. Enter. The voice from inside was calm, almost bored. Marcus opened the door and pushed me forward. I stumbled into the room, catching myself before I fell. The door closed behind me with a sound like a coffin lid. Cale stood by the window, still in his wine-stained clothes, looking out at the darkness. The room was large, sitting area, massive bed, fireplace crackling with flames. Candles everywhere, casting shadows that danced across the walls. He didn't turn around. Dismissed, he said. I heard Marcus's footsteps retreat down the hall. We were alone. My pulse hammered in my throat. I stood perfectly still, hands clasped in front of me, eyes downcast. The obedient servant. The harmless mute. Do you know why you're here? Cale asked, still not looking at me. I shook my head, the movement small. Liar. The word cracked through the air. He turned then, and the candlelight caught his face, turning those gray eyes silver. Let's start with something simple. He moved toward me, each step measured. How long have you been mute? I held up 8 fingers. 8 years. He circled around me slowly, a predator assessing prey. And before that? I signed quickly, born this way. Another lie. He completed his circle, stopping in front of me. You gasped tonight. Mute people don't gasp. I pointed to my throat, then made a gesture suggesting sometimes sounds escape. Interesting. He was close enough that I could smell him, pine and winter and something wild. Do you know what I do to liars? I shook my head, fear crawling up my spine. I break them. He said it matter-of-factly, like discussing the weather. Slowly. Until the truth bleeds out. My hands trembled, but I kept them still. Cale walked to a side table, poured himself a glass of whiskey. 8 years ago, a female came to this territory. Beautiful. Spirited. Destined, according to prophecy, to be my mate. He took a sip, watching me over the rim. Do you know what happened to her? I didn't move. Didn't breathe. She rejected the bond. His voice went cold. Screamed that she'd rather die than be claimed by a monster. So I gave her what she wanted. The room spun. I dug my nails into my palms, using pain to anchor myself. I didn't kill her quickly. Cale set down his glass. I wanted to see if she'd break. If survival instinct would override her pride. He tilted his head. It didn't. She died cursing my name, her throat torn open, blood everywhere. I couldn't stop it, a single tear slid down my cheek. There it is. Cale smiled, and it was horrible. Emotion. Tell me, little servant, why would you cry for a stranger? I signed frantically, all death is sad. Philosophical. How unexpected. He moved closer, and I forced myself not to back away. But here's what's interesting. That female, Lyssa was her name, she had a twin sister. Identical in every way. The prophecy spoke of both. My heart stopped. After Lyssa died, the sister vanished. Disappeared like smoke. Cale was right in front of me now, looking down at me with those devastating eyes. And exactly 8 years ago, a mute servant appeared in Shadow Moon Pack. No history. No family. Just, appeared. I shook my head, signing, coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist before I could react. His grip was gentle, almost tender, but I felt the strength in it. The promise of violence. Your pulse is racing, he murmured, his thumb pressing against the inside of my wrist. Liars have racing hearts. Did you know that? I tried to pull away. He held firm. Let's try an experiment. He pulled me closer, until we were inches apart. His other hand came up, fingers tracing along my jaw. I'm going to tell you what I know, and you're going to stand here silently. Can you do that? I nodded, trapped. The prophecy says twin daughters of the moon goddess's bloodline will either destroy or empower the Alpha King. His fingers moved to my throat, resting over my pulse point. Lyssa was one. Wherever her sister is, she's the other. His face was so close I could see flecks of darker gray in his eyes. I've been searching for 8 years. His breath was warm against my skin. Searching for a female with green eyes like spring leaves. With the scent of moonflowers and secrets. He inhaled deeply, his nose against my hair. Searching for you, Elara. Terror and something else, something hot and dangerous, shot through me. I signed with shaking hands, you're wrong. Am I? He released my wrist but didn't step back. Then you won't mind if I test my theory. Before I could react, he reached for a candle on the nearby table. The flame danced as he brought it closer. Mute doesn't mean you can't feel pain, he said conversationally. But someone hiding behind muteness would be very careful not to scream. He tipped the candle. Hot wax dripped onto the back of my hand. Pain seared through me, white-hot and immediate. I bit down on my tongue until I tasted blood, my body going rigid, but I didn't make a sound. Didn't pull away. The wax cooled on my skin, a hardening burn. Cale's eyes narrowed. Impressive. Most people break at that. He set the candle down, then grabbed my burned hand, studying it. But I felt you tense. Felt your whole body want to scream. I met his eyes, keeping mine blank. You're good, he admitted. Better than I expected. 8 years of practice? He turned my hand over, his thumb brushing the wax. But everyone breaks eventually. And I have time. He released me suddenly, walking back to the window. I stayed frozen, my hand throbbing. Here's what I think happened, Cale said, his back to me. I think Lyssa warned you. Told you to run, to hide. And you were smart enough to choose the one disguise no one would question. The voiceless servant. Invisible. He turned. Close. I shook my head, but my hands were trembling too hard to sign. I let Lyssa die, he continued, and his voice carried something new. Regret? Anger? I couldn't tell. Not because I'm a monster. Because she wasn't the right one. I stared at him, confused despite myself. The prophecy is specific. One twin represents choice. The other represents fate. Lyssa was choice, she chose death over bondage. But fate? He moved toward me again, inexorable. Fate doesn't choose. Fate accepts. Submits. Survives. He was right in front of me again, and this time when his hand came up, it cupped my face. I've been searching for you, Elara. Not to kill you. To claim you. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Because only the twin of fate can break the curse that's killing me from the inside out. My eyes widened. I couldn't help it. Surprised? He smiled, bitter. Every full moon, I lose control. Kill anyone near me. Innocents. Children. I've slaughtered hundreds. His hand tightened slightly. Only my true mate's bond can stop it. Lyssa refused, so I let her die and continued my search. He leaned closer, his lips near my ear. I need you, he whispered. And I think you need me too. I think 8 years of silence has been its own kind of death. I shook my head frantically, but he caught my face in both hands, holding me still. I'll prove you're a fraud, he said softly, dangerously. I'll break through every wall you've built. And when I do, when you finally speak, you'll beg me to claim you. To end this game. I tried to pull away, but he was too strong, too fast. His mouth descended on my neck, and I felt his teeth, sharp, deadly, press against my skin. Not hard enough to mark, not gentle enough to mistake for anything but a threat. Pain bloomed where his teeth broke skin. The scream rose in my throat, desperate to escape. 8 years of silence warring with pure instinct. I choked it back, swallowing it down, but a sound escaped, small, broken, barely human. Cale pulled back, blood on his lips. My blood. His eyes were triumphant. There, he said softly. There's the girl who can speak. I pressed my hand to my neck, feeling warm blood. Tears streamed down my face, silent, damning. Tomorrow night, the claiming ceremony, Cale continued, releasing me finally. You'll serve again. You'll stand there with your pretty lies and your silence. And I'll watch you. Study you. Find every crack in your armor. He walked to the door, opened it. You're dismissed. I stumbled toward the exit, desperate to escape. His hand shot out, catching my arm one last time. He pulled me close, his mouth against my ear. I know who you are, Elara Thorne. I've known since the moment I saw you. His voice was dark promise and darker threat. And before this is over, you'll know who you are too. The girl who chose silence over destiny. The coward who let her sister die alone. I jerked away from him, something inside me cracking. He smiled. Run, little wolf. But you can't run from fate. I fled into the hallway, his laughter following me into the darkness. And as I ran, hand pressed to my bleeding neck, I felt something I hadn't felt in 8 years. My wolf, stirring deep inside. Waking up. Recognizing its mate. No, I thought desperately. No, no, no. But deep down, in the place I'd locked away 8 years ago, I knew the truth Cale had already discovered. The bond was real. And it was going to destroy us both. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 4. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I sat on my cot, hand pressed to the bite mark on my neck, feeling my pulse throb beneath broken skin. The bleeding had stopped, but the wound burned like he'd branded me. Maybe he had. When dawn came, I was already dressed, already numb. I covered the bite with a high collar and walked to the kitchens like a ghost. Mira took one look at me and pulled me aside. What happened? Her hands flew frantically. You look like death. I shook my head. There were no signs for what had happened in Kale's chambers. No gestures that could explain how he'd torn through 8 years of careful lies in one night. She gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet her eyes. He hurt you. I nodded. Then shook my head. Then just stood there, broken and confused. All servants to the ceremonial grounds. Beta Marcus's voice echoed through the halls. The claiming ceremony begins at moonrise. Everyone will attend. My blood turned to ice. The ceremony. The full moon. And the ritual howl that would expose me completely. By evening, the ceremonial grounds were transformed into something ancient and powerful. Torches ringed the clearing, their flames dancing in the cool night air. The full moon hung overhead, massive and silver, casting everything in pale light. The pack gathered in a wide circle, warriors, families, unmated wolves all dressed in ceremonial white. In the center stood a raised stone platform where Alpha Silas waited with Kale. The servants lined the outer edge, gray shadows against white ceremony. I positioned myself between two larger women, trying to disappear. But I felt his gaze immediately, heavy and knowing. I didn't look up. Didn't dare. Tonight, we honor tradition. Silas's voice rang out. The Alpha King seeks his Luna Queen. Any unmated female may present herself for claiming. A murmur ran through the crowd. I saw females straightening, preening, hope bright in their eyes. Fools. They had no idea what they were hoping for. Come forward. Silas commanded. One by one, they approached the platform. Beautiful wolves in white gowns, each one bowing before Kale and presenting themselves for inspection. I watched through lowered lashes as he rejected them all without a word. A slight shake of his head, and they retreated, devastated. My daughter, Arya. Silas pushed forward a stunning blonde. Strong bloodline, excellent hunter. No. Kale didn't even look at her. Arya's face crumpled. Silas went red. Perhaps if you gave her a chance. I said no. Kale's voice carried absolute authority. Is there anyone else? The servants, my king. Lord Brennan spoke from beside him, his sharp features gleaming in torchlight. Tradition allows. Servants. Kale's gaze swept the outer circle, landing on me like a physical touch. Yes. Bring them forward. My heart stopped. Beta Marcus began pulling servants toward the platform. Mira went, head high. Others followed, nervous and excited. I stayed frozen. All of them, Kale said, his eyes never leaving mine. Every single one. Marcus's hand clamped on my arm, dragging me forward. I stumbled into the circle of torchlight, joining the line of servants. Kale walked along us slowly, and I felt his presence like heat. He stopped in front of me, and the world narrowed to just his gray eyes and my thundering heart. This one, he said. My king? Silas sounded confused. She's mute. Surely. Did I ask your opinion? Kale's voice was silk over steel. Step forward. I didn't move. Couldn't. His hand shot out, gripping my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. Step forward. I climbed onto the platform on shaking legs. Now we complete the ceremony, Silas announced, sounding uncertain. The ritual howl, where unmated wolves call to the moon Anne. I know the ritual. Kale circled me slowly. Continue. Silas raised his arms. Let all unmated wolves join the song. The pack began to howl, voices rising in a primal chorus that echoed through the forest. One by one, the females on the platform joined in, their howls pure and strong. I stood silent. Kale watched me, waiting. The pressure built. Every wolf howling except me. The sound washing over me, demanding I join, that I release the voice I'd caged for 8 years. My throat worked. No sound came out. Kale leaned close, his breath hot against my ear. Howl, little fraud. Or everyone will know. I opened my mouth. Nothing. His hand wrapped around my throat, gentle but firm. One sound. That's all I need. Then, smoke. Fire, someone screamed. The kitchens are on fire. Chaos erupted. Wolves ran toward the pack house where flames licked from the kitchen windows. Silas shouted orders. The ceremony dissolved into panic. Through the confusion, I saw Mira at the edge of the grounds, stood on her face, signing frantically, "Run." I didn't think. I bolted. Into the darkness beyond the torches. Past the ceremonial grounds. Toward the tree line where the forbidden forest began. Behind me, I heard Kale's voice cut through the chaos, "Let her run." I crashed into the forest, branches tearing at my dress, roots trying to trip me. The sounds of the pack faded, replaced by the thundering of my heart and my ragged breathing. Finally, I let myself breathe. Really breathe. I sagged against a tree, my lungs burning. The forest was dark, quiet except for the whisper of wind through leaves. I was alone. Then I heard it. A low growl that raised every hair on my body. I spun around. 2 massive paws emerged from the shadows. Then a chest. A head. The wolf was enormous, black as midnight with gray eyes that glowed like silver coins. Beautiful and terrifying. Kale. He'd shifted. Followed me. And the way he moved, slow, purposeful, said he'd been there the whole time. Watching. Waiting. I ran. The forest became a blur. I used every trick I knew, crossing streams, doubling back, climbing over fallen trees. Behind me, I heard him. Not close. Not far. Just there, constant as death. He was playing with me. I burst through a thicket and nearly fell. The ground ended abruptly in a cliff edge, a sheer drop to a river far below. Water rushed over rocks, white foam glowing in the moonlight. Trapped. I turned. The massive wolf emerged from the trees, steam rising from his fur. He shifted, bones cracking and reforming, and suddenly Kale stood there. Naked. Magnificent. Completely unashamed. "End of the line," he said, walking toward me. I backed up until my heels hung over empty air. "Interesting choice." He stopped a few feet away. "Jump or speak? Which death do you prefer?" I looked down at the water far below, then back at him. His expression was unreadable. "I've been hunting you for 8 years. Searching every territory, every pack. And you were here all along, scrubbing floors." He tilted his head. "Why?" I signed, "You killed my sister. I gave your sister a choice. She chose death." He moved closer. "But you? You chose silence. Chose to live, even if it meant becoming nothing. Another step. So what's stronger, Elara? Your need to survive, or your need to hide?" I was shaking, one foot already off the edge. Last chance. He was right in front of me now. "Speak, or I'll assume you prefer the fall." I met his eyes. Saw the challenge there. The certainty that I'd break. And something inside me, the part that had survived 8 years of silence, that had watched my sister die and kept living, made a choice. I fell backward. Off the cliff. Into empty air. His roar of rage followed me down. Wind screamed past. The river rushed up. This was it, freedom or death, and either was better than becoming his. Then arms locked around me, crushing me against a hard chest. Kale had jumped after me, his body wrapping around mine protectively as we plummeted. We hit the water hard. Cold shocked through me, driving the air from my lungs. The current grabbed us, pulling us under, spinning us in darkness. I couldn't tell which way was up. Kale's arms stayed locked around me, but the river was stronger. It tore us apart, tumbling me through underwater chaos. My lungs burned. I needed air. Needed. Something grabbed my ankle, dragging me deeper. Caught on something. A branch. A rock. I couldn't see. I pulled, kicked, fought. The thing held tight. My vision started to darken. Spots danced before my eyes. Then Kale was there, his hands on whatever held me, tearing at it. He looked up at me, his face fierce even underwater. "Hold on," his expression said. But I couldn't. My lungs were screaming. My body was shutting down. 8 years of silence, and I was going to die in it. No. The word burned through me like fire. After everything, after surviving, hiding, enduring, would not die silent. My mouth opened, and sound exploded from my throat, muffled by water but real, tangible, mine. Kale. His name tore from me like a prayer, like a curse, like the breaking of every chain I'd wrapped around myself. His eyes went wide with shock. Then he yanked me free, kicking hard, propelling us upward. We burst through the surface, both gasping, the current carrying us downstream. He dragged me to the shore, hauling us onto the muddy bank. We collapsed there, coughing up river water, shaking with cold and adrenaline. I rolled onto my back, staring up at the moon, my chest heaving. I'd spoken. After 8 years, I'd broken my silence. For him. Kale loomed over me suddenly, water streaming from his hair, his eyes wild. Say it again. I couldn't. The word had been shock, desperation. Now, lying here, I felt the weight of what I'd done crushing down. Say it again. He gripped my shoulders. You spoke. I heard you. I shook my head, tears mixing with river water. You spoke my name. His voice was rough, almost broken. Do you understand what that means? I tried to sign, but he grabbed my hands. No more lies. No more silence. He pulled me up to face him. You spoke to save me. Your wolf recognized me. The bond. Get away from her. We both froze. Alpha Silas stood at the tree line, a dozen warriors behind him, all armed with silver weapons. And they weren't pointed at me. They were pointed at Kale. I'm sorry, my king, Silas said, not sounding sorry at all. But you've become a liability. And this ceremony has gone on long enough. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 5. Don't move, my king. Silas's voice was steady, almost regretful. Silver arrows. Even you can't survive a dozen of them through the heart. Kale rose slowly, positioning himself between me and the warriors. Water streamed from his body, and I realized with a jolt that he was still naked, still vulnerable. Still protecting me. Silas. Kale's voice was calm, but I heard the predator underneath. You're making a mistake. Am I? Silas stepped closer, and I saw something in his face I'd never noticed before. Madness. Ambition. You've been weak, Kale. Searching for 8 years for some prophecy mate while your power bleeds away. The territories smell blood in the water. So you thought you'd spill more? Kale's muscles tensed. Kill me here, with witnesses? What witness? Silas gestured at me. The mute servant? Who'd believe her? He smiled. Besides, I'm doing the werewolf world a favor. You're cursed, Kale. Broken. It's time for new leadership. Kale moved so fast I barely saw it. He grabbed me, diving sideways as arrows hissed through the air where we'd been standing. We hit the water again, the current immediately grabbing us. Hold your breath. Kale's order was the last thing I heard before we went under. The river took us, tumbling us downstream, away from Silas's warriors. I clung to Kale, my arms around his neck, trusting him to navigate the darkness. We surfaced a quarter-mile down, hidden by an overhang of rocks. Kale pulled me into a shallow cave where the water pooled, barely large enough for both of us. We huddled there, shivering, his body warm against mine. Your secret's out, he said quietly. No point pretending now. My throat felt raw, and used. The word came out as a croak. I can't. You can. His hand came up, cupping my face. You did. You said my name. To save you. The words hurt coming out, scraping like broken glass. I didn't. I wouldn't have. But you did. His gray eyes held mine. 8 years, Elara. 8 years of silence, and you broke it for me. Why? I don't know. The words burst out louder than I intended. I don't know. You're a monster, you killed my sister, you've been hunting me. Then why did you scream my name? His voice was fierce. Why did your wolf reach for mine? I pushed at his chest, but there was nowhere to go. Because I'm weak. Because for 1 second I forgot. What? That you hate me? He caught my wrists. Or that you're terrified the bond is real? Both. Tears streamed down my face. You killed Lyssa. I watched them bring back her body. I watched them burn her on a pyre while you stood there like a statue. No emotion. No regret. Just, nothing. You were there. His grip loosened slightly. Hidden. Always hidden. The memories crashed over me, and suddenly I couldn't stop talking. 8 years of silence breaking like a dam. She came to Shadow Moon running. Terrified. She told me the Alpha King had declared her his mate, that some prophecy said she had to bond with him or die. Kale's face was unreadable. She begged me to hide. Said there were 2 of us, that the prophecy needed both, but if one disappeared maybe. I choked on a sob. Maybe they'd leave the other alone. So I hid. I watched from the servant quarters while she stood in the great hall and told you she'd rather die than be claimed by a monster. And I granted her wish. You tortured her first. The words were venom. I heard her screaming. 4 hours. I heard. Stop. His voice cracked. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I shoved at him harder. I saw her body. Throat torn out, covered in claw marks, eyes still open in terror. It wasn't me. The words hung in the air between us. What? Kale looked away, something like shame crossing his features. I didn't kill your sister. I let her die, but I wasn't the one who tore her apart. Liar. Every full moon, I transform. His voice was flat, dead. But it's not a normal shift. I lose control. Become something else. Something that kills everything in its path. He turned back to me, and his eyes held such pain it stole my breath. Your sister refused the mate bond. So when the full moon rose and I transformed, she was there. And I couldn't stop it. I stared at him, horror and understanding dawning. The prophecy says twin daughters of the moon goddess's bloodline can either destroy or empower the Alpha King, Kale continued. I thought Lyssa was the one. Thought if she accepted the bond, she could break the curse. His jaw clenched. She refused. And the beast inside me killed her for it. No. I shook my head. No, you're lying. I'm cursed, Elara. Have been since I was 18. He grabbed my hand, pressing it against his chest where I could feel his heart racing. My father was Alpha King before me. Powerful. Cruel. When I challenged him to save innocents he'd condemned to death, he laid a curse on me with his dying breath. Every full moon, I become a mindless killer. I felt the truth in his words, in his heartbeat, in the anguish carved into his face. 12 alphas challenged me for the throne, he said. I killed them all during full moons. Couldn't control it. Couldn't stop. I've spent 15 years slaughtering anyone close to me when the moon rises. His hand tightened on mine. The prophecy was my only hope. A true mate could break the curse. So I searched for the daughters of the bloodline. Found Lyssa. And when she refused, I locked myself in chains. Begged her to reconsider. But she saw me as the monster my father made me. His voice broke. And she was right. When I transformed, I tore through the chains. Killed her. Killed 3 guards trying to protect her. When I woke the next morning, covered in their blood, I knew I'd lost my only chance. But there were 2 of us. Understanding flooded me. The prophecy said twins. One of fate, one of choice. Lyssa chose death. You. He searched my face. You chose survival. Silence. You disappeared so completely I thought you died too. For 8 years I searched, hoping, praying there really was a twin who might save me from myself. How many? The question came out as a whisper. How many people have you killed? 317. The number was precise, painful. I know every name. Every face. Every full moon, more blood on my hands. He released me suddenly, curling in on himself. Next full moon is in 3 weeks. I'll kill again. Unless the bond breaks the curse. I'm not the villain, Elara. He looked up at me, and for the first time I saw past the cold alpha to the broken man underneath. I'm the prisoner. Trapped in my own body. Forced to kill against my will. And you're my only hope of freedom. My mind reeled. Everything I'd believed for 8 years was crumbling. Why didn't you tell Lyssa? I asked. Why not explain? I did. His laugh was bitter. She thought I was lying. Manipulating her. She'd heard the stories about the ruthless Alpha King and assumed I was just trying to control her. He stood, water sluicing off his body. I let her think it. Let her hate me. Because the truth was worse than the lie. What truth? That I'm not in control. He turned to face me fully. That every full moon, I become the monster she accused me of being. That bonding with me means risking your life every time the moon rises, hoping the mate bond holds, hoping it's strong enough to keep the beast at bay. That's why you've rejected every female, I realized. Not because you're cruel. Because you're terrified of killing them. Now you understand. He crouched down in front of me. I've been alone for 15 years. Built walls around myself. Pushed everyone away. Because caring about someone means watching them die by my own claws. I saw him clearly for the first time. Not a monster. A man carrying an unbearable burden. Lyssa wasn't the right one anyway, he said quietly. The bond never sparked. I felt nothing but obligation. His hand came up, tucking wet hair behind my ear. But you. The moment I saw you, I knew. My wolf knew. The bond was there, waiting. I hate you, I whispered, but it sounded weak even to my own ears. I know. His thumb traced my cheekbone. But you also screamed my name to save me. Your wolf recognized mine. The bond's already forming whether you want it or not. I don't. Want it? Neither do I. His smile was sad. I don't want to risk your life. Don't want to watch you realize what I am and hate me for it. But the alternative is more innocent blood. He leaned closer. So I'm asking, not as your king, but as a man who's tired of killing. Will you try? Will you give the bond a chance before the next full moon? I opened my mouth to answer. Then I heard the whistle of arrows. Kale reacted instantly, throwing his body over mine as silver-tipped arrows rained down on our hiding spot. One grazed his shoulder, drawing blood. He hissed in pain but didn't move. I know you're there, my king. Silas's voice echoed across the water. Found you by scent. Silver arrows and silver chains, you're not escaping this time. Warriors appeared on the rocks above us, at least 20 of them, all armed. This was always the plan, Silas continued. The claiming ceremony was a trap. The fire was a signal. And now, far from witnesses, you'll die and I'll take your throne. Kale's blood dripped onto my face, warm and red. The girl dies with you, of course, Silas added. Can't have any mate claiming vengeance. Kale looked down at me, decision hardening in his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. For everything. Then he kissed me hard, and power exploded between us. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 6. The kiss lasted only a heartbeat, but power surged through me like lightning, hot, wild, undeniable. The mate bond, snapping partially into place. Then Kale tore himself away, shoving me behind him as he launched himself at the warriors above. Even naked, weaponless, and bleeding, he was magnificent. He moved like death itself, all speed and savage grace. He caught the first warrior mid-leap, snapping his neck before they hit the ground. Grabbed a silver sword from the falling body and spun, taking down 2 more. But there were too many. Kale! I screamed as 3 warriors tackled him from different angles. Silver chains wrapped around his arms, burning his skin. He roared in pain and fury. Hold him. Silas commanded from above. The mute girl, bring her to me. 2 warriors splashed into our hiding spot, reaching for me. I scrambled backward, my voice locked in my throat again by sheer terror. No. Not again. Not after I'd finally spoken. They grabbed my arms, hauling me up. One raised a blade to my throat. Don't. Kale's voice was raw. Take me, let her go. You don't give orders anymore, Silas said, descending the rocks with casual confidence. You're finished, Kale. The territories will celebrate your death. The warrior's blade pressed against my skin. I felt blood trickle down my neck. And something inside me, something that had been building for 8 years, snapped. I opened my mouth and screamed. The sound that came out wasn't human. It was power made audible, rage and terror and grief crystallized into pure sonic force. The warrior holding the blade flew backward like he'd been hit by a truck. The second lost his grip, stumbling away with hands over his ears. The sword at my throat shattered into pieces. Everyone froze, staring at me in shock. I stared at my hands, feeling power humming beneath my skin. What was that? Impossible, Silas breathed. The voice of the moon goddess. Kale used the distraction. He surged against his chains, breaking free in a shower of silver links despite the burns. He moved through the remaining warriors like a hurricane, all claws and teeth and lethal precision. But more were coming. I heard them crashing through the forest, dozens of them. Run! Kale grabbed my hand, pulling me up the riverbank. After them. Silas roared. The girl is the key. Bring her to me alive. We ran through the forest, Kale's hand locked around mine. Behind us, warriors gave chase, their howls splitting the night. What was that? Kale panted as we ran. That scream. I don't know. My throat felt raw, burning. It just happened. An arrow whistled past my head. Kale yanked me sideways, behind a tree. 3 warriors burst through the undergrowth ahead of us, cutting off our escape. Your voice, Kale said urgently. Use it again. I can't, I don't know how. The warriors charged. Terror flooded me, and instinct took over. I screamed again, and this time I felt the power gathering in my chest before it released. The sound wave hit the warriors like a wall, sending them flying into trees with bone-cracking force. Run. Kale pulled me forward. My throat burned worse now, my voice already going hoarse. But we ran, crashing through the forest with the sounds of pursuit growing closer. Then, impossibly, I heard a familiar voice. This way. Mira appeared from behind a cluster of rocks, gesturing frantically. Her face was streaked with soot and blood, her dress torn. Mira. Relief flooded through me. No time. She grabbed my other hand. I know a path, they won't follow. She led us through a narrow ravine, hidden by overhanging branches. The sounds of pursuit faded slightly. How did you find us? Kale demanded. Followed the warriors. Heard them talking about the ambush. Mira glanced back at me, her eyes full of something like regret. I couldn't let them kill you. We emerged into a small clearing. Mira stopped abruptly. This way leads to the northern border, she said. There's a safe house. How do you know that? Kale's voice was suspicious. Myra's face crumpled. Because I was sent here 8 years ago. To watch her. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? I'm sorry. Tears streamed down her face. Silas paid me to keep tabs on the mute servant. Make sure she really couldn't speak. Report if anything changed. You've been spying on me? My voice cracked. For 8 years? At first, yes. Mira gripped my shoulders. But then you became my friend. My only real friend. And I wouldn't, she looked back the way we'd come. That's why I set the fire. Why I'm here. I choose you over him. Before I could respond, Silas's voice cut through the night. How touching. He stepped into the clearing with a dozen warriors, all armed with silver. My spy, betraying me. I should have known you'd go soft. Run. Mira shoved me toward Kale. Then she charged at Silas. No. My scream tore from my throat, but it was too late. Silas moved faster than she did. His claws extended, and he drove them through her chest in one brutal motion. Myra's eyes went wide. She looked down at the claws protruding from her ribcage, then back at me. Run, she whispered. Blood bubbled from her lips. Silas yanked his claws free, and Mira collapsed. Rage exploded through me. I screamed, and this time the power was enormous, uncontrolled. Trees shook. The ground trembled. Warriors were thrown backward like leaves in a storm. Even Silas stumbled, blood trickling from his ears. Kale. I was at Myra's side, trying to staunch the bleeding. Help her. He was already there, scooping her into his arms. We have to move. Now. She's dying. She's dead if we stay. He started running, Myra's body cradled against his chest. I followed, throwing back another scream when warriors got too close. Each one left my throat raw, my voice weaker. But I kept going. I'm sorry, Mira whispered, blood staining Kale's skin. Didn't mean to lie. 8 years. Save your strength, I told her, running beside Kale. Loved you, like a sister. Her eyes found mine. Don't trust. Brennan. What? Kale's pace faltered. What did you say? Brennan, he's the one, orchestrated everything. Mira coughed, more blood. Silas, just a puppet. Brennan wants, the prophecy. Lord Brennan? Kale's face went white. That's impossible. He's been my advisor for 10 years. Myra's breathing was shallow. Since your father died. He's been waiting, for the twins. My blood went cold. The camp, Cale said urgently. My loyalists camped 2 miles north. If we can reach them. We burst through the tree line into a clearing where Cale's camp was set up. Tents, supplies, a dozen warriors in Cale's colors. My king. They rushed forward. Thank the goddess. Get a healer. Cale commanded, laying Mira gently on the ground. Now. I knelt beside her, holding her hand. Her skin was cold, her pulse threadbare. Stay with me, I begged. Please, Mira, stay. My king. Lord Brennan emerged from the largest tent, his sharp features arranged in concern. We heard fighting. What happened? Ambush, Cale said shortly. Silas betrayed us. Myra's wounded, we need. He stopped. Swayed. Cale? I stood, reaching for him. He collapsed. Cale. I dropped beside him, turning him over. His skin was clammy, his breathing shallow. What's wrong? What's happening? Wolfsbane, Brennan said calmly. Fast acting. Lethal in sufficient doses. I looked up at him. Get help. Do something. Why would I do that? He smiled, and it was nothing like the polite advisor I'd seen at dinner. This smile was cold. Calculating. I'd been working toward this moment for 10 years. The warriors around us didn't move. Didn't react. They stood like statues, eyes glazed. What did you do to them? I demanded. A simple compulsion spell. Useful for ensuring loyalty. Brennan walked closer, circling us like Cale had circled me. The prophecy is quite specific, you see. Twin daughters of the moon goddess's bloodline will either destroy or empower the Alpha King. You're behind this. Understanding crashed over me. Silas, the ambush, everything. Silas is a useful idiot. Ambitious enough to be manipulated, stupid enough not to see he's being used. Brennan crouched down, studying Cale's unconscious form. I'd been positioning pieces for years. Guiding Cale toward your sister. Ensuring she'd refuse the bond. Creating the conditions for her death. You killed Lyssa. Technically, Cale's curse killed her. I simply made sure she was in the right place at the right time. His eyes glittered. One twin of choice, dead. Now I just need the twin of fate, alive and broken. Why? My voice was barely a whisper. Because the prophecy says you can destroy or empower the Alpha King. But it says nothing about which Alpha King. He stood, straightening his robes. With your power bonded to mine, I'll be unstoppable. The territories will kneel. The Alpha King will be nothing but a memory. I'll never bond with you. You will. He gestured, and 2 of his spelled warriors grabbed me. Because otherwise, you'll watch Cale die. Slowly. Painfully. Just like you watched your sister. Cale's breathing was getting shallower. His lips were turning blue. The wolfsbane in his system will kill him in 10 minutes, Brennan said conversationally. Unless you agree to bond with me. Then I'll give him the antidote. Simple choice, really. I looked at Mira, dying on the ground. At Cale, poisoned and helpless. At the spelled warriors, trapped in Brennan's control. Tick-tock, Brennan said, pulling out a vial of clear liquid. 9 minutes now. What's it going to be, Elara? Save the monster who killed your sister? Or let him die and accept your true destiny? His hand extended, waiting for my answer. And behind him, in the shadows, something moved. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 7. 8 minutes, Brennan said, watching me with cold calculation. I looked at Cale's face, pale and slack, poison working through his veins. The man who'd hunted me, protected me, kissed me and made the world tilt on its axis. The monster who'd killed my sister. The prisoner who'd been trying to break his own chains. Why? My voice was hoarse, barely functional. Why do you need me? You have power, position. Because I'm mortal, Brennan snapped, his composure cracking. Do you know what it's like serving an alpha king who'll live 300 years while you age and die? Watching him squander his power, weakened by guilt and curse? He moved closer. The prophecy offers immortality. Ultimate power. But only through the twin of fate, willingly bonded. I'm not bonding with you. Then he dies. Brennan shrugged. And the next full moon, the curse will drive him to kill dozens more before the wolfsbane finishes what I started. His death will be slow, agonizing, and stained with innocent blood. You're insane. I'm practical. He held up the vial. 7 minutes. Decide. My hands clenched into fists. Every instinct screamed at me to refuse, to let Kale suffer as Lyssa had suffered. But Lyssa had died believing Kale was a monster. What if she'd been wrong? What if I was wrong? The complete prophecy, I said, stalling. Tell me all of it. Brennan's smile was indulgent. Why not? You're running out of time anyway. He began to pace, clearly enjoying himself. The twin daughters of the moon goddess's bloodline represent the eternal duality. Choice and fate. Free will and destiny. He gestured at the dying Mira. Choice is the twin who chooses her own path, even unto death. She rejects destiny, refuses to be bound. His eyes found mine. Fate is the twin who accepts what must be. Who understands sacrifice. Who gives up everything to save what matters. Lyssa was choice. And died for it. As the prophecy demanded. Brennan's voice took on an almost reverent quality. One must die so the other can ascend. One must refuse so the other can accept. The prophecy requires balance, death and life, rejection and acceptance. Ascend to what? Power beyond imagining. The voice of the moon goddess herself, channeled through mortal form. He leaned close. Your screams shattered weapons, Elara. Imagine what you could do fully bonded. You could level mountains. Command armies. Reshape the world. Or destroy it. Exactly. His smile widened. Which is why the bonding must be willing. Force corrupts the power, makes it unstable. But willing sacrifice? He kissed his fingers. Perfect. Kale's breathing hitched, then steadied weakly. 5 minutes, maybe less. The voice, I said slowly. If I bond willingly, what happens to it? Something flickered in Brennan's eyes. Triumph. The prophecy is clear. The twin of fate gives her voice to save the cursed king. Permanent silence in exchange for his freedom. My blood went cold. I lose my voice forever. A small price for saving a life. For breaking an ancient curse. Brennan held out the antidote. 4 minutes. Your voice, or his life. Choose. I looked at Kale, dying because of Brennan's poison. Thought of the 317 people he'd killed, helpless against his own curse. The hundreds more who'd die if I let him perish. Then I thought of 8 years of silence. How I'd survived it. How I'd found strength in voicelessness. Maybe losing my voice wasn't the worst fate after all. If I bond with you, I said carefully, you'll save him? The moment the bond completes. I moved toward Brennan, saw victory flash across his face. And dropped to my knees beside Kale instead. What are you doing? Brennan demanded. Making my choice. I placed my hand over Kale's heart, felt it beating weak and erratic. I am fate. And fate chooses him. No. Brennan lunged forward. I opened my mouth and screamed, the sound hitting him like a physical wall. He flew backward, crashing into his spelled warriors. I willingly accept the mate bond, I said, my voice already fading. I give my voice to break the curse. I choose Kael Darkmoor as my mate, now and forever. Power exploded from me, silver light pouring from my mouth, my hands, my very skin. It wrapped around Kael like a cocoon, sinking into him. Stop her. Brennan roared, struggling to his feet. The spelled warriors moved like puppets, closing in. But I kept my hands on Kael's chest, kept pouring everything I had into the bond. Please, I begged silently. Please work. Kael's eyes snapped open, glowing silver. He gasped, his back arching as power flooded through him. And then I was falling into his memories. A young Kael, 18, standing over his father's body. The old Alpha King dying with a curse on his lips. You'll kill everything you love, every full moon, until your true mate breaks you or you destroy the world. 15 years of full moons. Waking in blood. Counting bodies. The horror in his own eyes. Finding Lyssa. Hoping. Begging her to try the bond. Her refusal. Her terror. Her accusations. The full moon rising. Chains snapping. The beast taking over. But there was more. A memory of Lyssa I'd never seen. Lyssa meeting with Brennan in secret. Drinking something he gave her. Her eyes going dark, corrupted. I'll kill him, she promised. During the full moon, when he transforms, I'll use the blood magic you taught me. Destroy him and every alpha bloodline. Start fresh. Brennan's smile. Perfect. And when you're done, the territories will be ripe for new leadership. Kael discovering the plot. Realizing Lyssa wasn't refusing the bond out of fear, she was refusing it because Brennan had corrupted her, turned her into a weapon. The impossible choice, let her live and destroy the werewolf world, or kill her himself. Choosing the lesser evil. Saving thousands by killing one. The guilt. The grief. The endless search for her twin, hoping for redemption. The memories shattered, and I gasped, tears streaming down my face. Everything I'd believed was a lie. Lyssa hadn't been the victim. She'd been corrupted, weaponized against Kael. And he'd killed her to save everyone else. Elara. Kael's hand cupped my face, his eyes clear and bright. The poison was gone, burned away by the bonding. What have you done? I tried to answer. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. My voice was gone. The bond snapped completely into place, and power flooded through me, not draining away, but multiplying. I felt Kael's strength joining mine, felt our wolves merge into something greater than either alone. I felt invincible. Then Brennan started laughing. Foolish girl. He rose, dark energy crackling around his hands. Did you really think I'd let you bond with him? He thrust his hands forward, and black chains of magic shot toward me, wrapping around my wrists, my throat, my chest. The prophecy works both ways, Brennan hissed. Willingly given power can be willingly taken. And you just made yourself the perfect vessel. The chains burned, and I felt my power beginning to drain, flowing from me into Brennan. His eyes lit up with silver light, my light, stolen through dark magic. No. Kael surged upward, grabbing the chains. They shocked him, sending him flying backward. The bond makes her strong, Brennan said, his voice growing deeper, more resonant as he absorbed my power. But it also makes her vulnerable. All that power, and nowhere to channel it without a voice. He pulled on the chains, dragging me toward him. I fought, but the magic was too strong. I've spent 10 years preparing this spell. Manipulating events. Ensuring both twins would fulfill their roles, one dying, one bonding. His face was transforming, becoming something other, as my stolen power reshaped him. Now I'll be both Alpha King and Moon Goddess's voice. Immortal. Unstoppable. My vision was blurring. Too much power draining too fast. Kale tried to reach me again, but the spelled warriors held him back. Even powered by our bond, he couldn't break through. Watch him, Brennan commanded. Watch your mate helpless while I take everything you are. Just like you watched your sister die. History repeating, forever and ever. Myra's hand shot out, grabbing Brennan's ankle. He looked down in surprise at the woman he'd forgotten, left for dead. For Elara, she whispered, and drove a silver dagger into his leg. Brennan screamed, his concentration breaking. The chains loosened. I wrenched free, falling backward into Kale's arms. The ritual, Mira gasped, blood bubbling from her lips. Complete it. Mark each other. Seal the bond. Before he. Brennan yanked the dagger free, kicking Mira aside. You insignificant. But Kale was already moving. He pulled me close, his teeth extending, and sank them into my neck, right over the bite from yesterday. The mark. The final seal. Pain and pleasure exploded through me. Then Kale offered his own neck, his eyes holding mine. Do it, his expression said. Complete us. My teeth extended, sharper than I'd ever felt them. I bit down on his throat, tasting blood and power and destiny. The bond slammed into place like a door locking, and everything changed. I felt Kale inside my mind, his thoughts tangling with mine. Felt our power merging completely, perfectly balanced. And felt something else. Something ancient stirring inside me. The voice wasn't gone. It had transformed. Become something more than sound. Brennan lunged, dark magic swirling. You can't stop me. I'll tear that bond apart and take what's. I opened my mouth, and what came out wasn't a scream. It was the voice of the moon goddess herself, channeled through the bond, through me, through Kale and back again in an infinite loop. The sound unmade Brennan's magic, unraveled his spells, shattered his dark chains. He fell to his knees, hands over his ears, screaming. Impossible, he gasped. You have no voice. The prophecy said. I smiled. And in my mind, in the bond that connected me to Kale, I heard my own voice clear and strong. The prophecy said I'd give my voice. It never said I'd lose my power. Kale's lips curved into a savage grin. He spoke aloud, but I heard it in two places, his voice and my mind. She gave her spoken voice. But gained something better. He pulled me close, our power humming between us. A voice that doesn't need sound. A voice that speaks directly to souls. Brennan's eyes widened with horror. No. No, this wasn't. You played a game with prophecy, I said, thought, my voice ringing in every mind present. The spelled warriors stumbled, Brennan's control breaking as my power touched them. And prophecy won. Brennan struggled to his feet, gathering the last of his magic for one final attack. And Silas burst into the clearing with a dozen warriors, all armed, all staring at the scene before them. Well, Silas said, his smile cold and calculating. Isn't this interesting? If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 8. Silas stood at the clearing's edge, surrounded by warriors who looked uncertain, weapons half raised. His eyes tracked across the scene, Brennan on his knees, warriors shaking off compulsion, Mira dying in a pool of blood, and Kale and me locked together, power radiating from our completed bond. Alpha Silas, Brennan gasped, struggling to stand. Perfect timing. Help me subdue them. Why? Silas's voice was cold. You promised me the throne. Instead, you've made a mess. I can still deliver. You've failed. Silas gestured, and his warriors lowered their weapons. I'm a traitor, not a fool. The king's bond is complete. You've lost. Hope flickered in my chest. Maybe. Which means I need to negotiate new terms. Silas turned to Kale. I'll give you Brennan. Testimony about his treachery. Proof of his manipulations. He smiled. In exchange for my life and a reduction in territory penalties. You ambushed your king. Cale's voice was deadly quiet. Tried to murder us both. Under Brennan's influence and misinformation. Silas spread his hands. I'm willing to make amends. He's lying, I thought to Cale through our bond. He wants to survive this and regroup. I know, Cale's voice answered in my mind, intimate and clear. But we need his testimony against Brennan. Play along. We'll discuss terms later, Cale said aloud. First, secure Brennan. Silver chains, heavy ones. Silas's warriors moved forward, but Brennan unleashed a wave of dark magic that sent them flying. You think this is over? Brennan's eyes blazed with madness and stolen power. I've prepared for every outcome. Including this one. He thrust his hand skyward, and the ground beneath us began to crack. Dark energy poured from the fissures, ancient and terrible. I may not have the complete bond, Brennan snarled. But I have enough power stolen from you, girl. Enough to tear this world apart if I can't rule it. The earth shook. Trees groaned and splintered. Silas's warriors scattered. 8 years, Brennan continued, his form growing larger, distorted by dark magic. 8 years I watched you scrub floors, living half a life, and thought you weak. Pathetic. But you were gathering strength, weren't you? Every unspoken word adding to your reservoir. He's right, I realized, feeling the truth of it. 8 years of silence hadn't weakened me, it had created a well of untapped power, waiting for the right moment to be released. And that moment was now. Together, I thought to Cale. We fight him together. Together, he agreed. We moved as one, our bond making us fluid, synchronized. Cale shifted partially, claws extending, while I gathered my voice, not sound, but pure power, and released it in a focused beam. Brennan blocked it with a shield of shadows, laughing. Is that all? Even bonded, you're no match. Cale hit him from the side, claws raking across Brennan's chest. Brennan screamed, retaliating with dark lightning that caught Cale and threw him 20 feet. Cale. I felt his pain through the bond, felt his ribs crack. I'm fine. Keep pressing. I unleashed another wave of power, this time splitting it into multiple attacks. Brennan had to divide his attention, and in that moment of weakness, Cale was there again, faster than should be possible. You can't win, Brennan panted, blood streaming from multiple wounds. I've studied the prophecy for decades. I know its secrets. I know, his eyes widened with sudden, terrible understanding. Oh. Oh, you stupid girl. What? Cale demanded. She never told you? Brennan laughed, the sound edged with hysteria. Lyssa and Elara weren't full sisters. Different fathers. His gaze locked on me. Lyssa's father was nobody. But Elara's father? He smiled through bloodied teeth. Was me. The world stopped. What? The word formed in my mind but went nowhere. I was young, ambitious, in love with a woman of the sacred bloodline. Brennan's voice took on a dreamy quality even as dark magic swirled around him. She bore twins, but only one was mine. Only one carried my blood along with the goddess's gift. He's lying, Cale thought fiercely. Trying to break your focus. But I felt the truth of it resonating through the bond, through my very bones. Lyssa and I had been different, she'd always been lighter, more free. While I'd been darker, more controlled. I spent 30 years gaining power, positioning myself near the Alpha King, waiting for my daughter to come of age. Brennan's form swelled larger, fed by rage and jealousy. Then the prophecy activated. But it chose Lyssa first, the one who wasn't mine. The weaker one. So you corrupted her, Cale said. Turned her into a weapon. I gave her power. Tried to help her ascend. Brennan roared. But she refused me too. Chose death over accepting her father's gifts. His eyes burned as they found me. So I waited for you. My true daughter. The one with my ambition, my strength. And you wasted it playing mute servant. The revelation should have broken me. But instead, clarity crystallized. Lyssa had protected me. By being chosen first, by refusing the bond, by dying, she'd bought me 8 years to grow strong enough to face this moment. She knew, I realized. Somehow she knew Brennan was dangerous. That's why she told me to hide. Your daughter, I thought at Brennan, my voice ringing in his mind, is dead. And I'm glad she never knew you. I unleashed everything. 8 years of silence. 8 years of words swallowed and rage contained. 8 years of grief and fear and desperate hope. It poured from me in a torrent of silver light, pure and cleansing. Brennan screamed, his dark magic withering against it. No. I gave you life. You owe me. I owe you nothing. Cale joined his strength to mine, our bond amplifying both our powers. The silver light grew blinding, burning away Brennan's corruption, his stolen power, his dark magic. You can't. Brennan shrieked. I'm your father. The prophecy. The prophecy said a twin of fate would choose. My voice was everywhere and nowhere, power made manifest. I choose love over blood. Light over darkness. Cale over you. The final word, Cale's name, spoken with everything I was, became a soul scream that shattered Brennan's defenses completely. His form collapsed inward, dark magic imploding, until only a broken old man remained, curled on the ground. I just wanted. He whispered. To matter. To be chosen. Just once. Then his eyes went empty, and he was gone. Silence fell over the clearing. I collapsed into Cale's arms, completely drained. Around us, Silas's warriors stared in shock. The spelled wolves were blinking awake, confused and frightened. Mira, I thought desperately. Where's? Here. Cale carried me to where Mira lay. Her breathing was so shallow I could barely see her chest move. I placed my hands on her wounds, and instinctively pushed healing energy through the bond. Cale added his strength, and together we poured life back into her failing body. Don't you dare die, I thought at her. Not after everything. Her eyes fluttered open. Did we win? We won. She smiled weakly. Good. Because I'm not ready to leave you yet. Then healers were there, real ones from Cale's camp, taking over. They worked frantically while Cale held me against his chest. She'll live, one finally pronounced. But she'll need weeks of recovery. Relief flooded through me. Alpha Silas. Cale's voice cut through the aftermath. You wanted to negotiate? Silas approached cautiously. My king. I was misled, manipulated. You were ambitious and traitorous. Cale stood, setting me gently on my feet but keeping one arm around my waist. Shadow Moon Pack is stripped from you. You'll be exiled to the border territories with nothing but your life. But be grateful I'm giving you that much. Cale's eyes glowed with alpha power. My mate advocated for mercy. Don't make me regret listening to her. Silas looked at me, something like respect in his eyes. Then he bowed low. Thank you, Luna Queen. The title hung in the air. Luna Queen. Me. Can you handle it? Cale's thought was gentle. Being my queen? Helping me rule? I looked at the wolves gathering around us, former enemies, allies, innocents caught in Brennan's schemes. Looked at Mira being carried to safety. Looked at Cale, my mate, my anchor, my unexpected destiny. Together, I thought. We can handle anything together. 3 weeks later. The coronation was held under a full moon, the first since the curse broke. I stood beside Cale as he addressed the assembled packs, my hand in his. I wore a simple white gown and a silver circlet. No crown, I'd refused anything too ornate. The curse is broken, Kale announced, his voice carrying across the ceremonial grounds. For the first time in 15 years, I stand before you in full control. And it's because of her. Every eye turned to me. I felt the weight of their stares but didn't flinch. Nervous? Kale's thought was warm. Terrified. Me too. He squeezed my hand. But we're in this together. I squeezed back, then stepped forward. My hands moved in sign language, and Kale translated. I accept the role of Luna Queen. But I do so with conditions. Murmurs ran through the crowd. My first act is establishing a sanctuary. A place for the voiceless, the powerless, those who've been silenced by circumstance or choice. They'll have safety, protection, and the freedom to find their own voices again. The murmurs grew louder, approving. My second act, my hands faltered, emotion threatening to overwhelm me. You can do this, Kale encouraged. I continued signing. My second act is honoring my sister, Lyssa. She was manipulated, corrupted, but in her final moments, she tried to protect me. The sanctuary will bear her name. I walked to the memorial stone we'd erected, simple granite with Lyssa's name carved deep. I pulled out her necklace, the one I'd hidden for 8 years, and hung it on the stone. My hands formed the words carefully, "You gave me silence. I give them hope." The crowd erupted in howls of approval. Mira appeared at my side, still pale, still healing, but alive and fierce. Permission to serve as the Luna Queen's personal guard? I smiled and signed, "Granted. But only if you promise no more secrets." "No more secrets," she agreed, her eyes bright with tears. The ceremony continued, pledges of loyalty, celebrations, the formal recognition of our bond. Through it all, Kale stayed close, his presence a constant comfort. When the moon reached its peak, we stood together on the platform. The crowd fell silent, waiting. Kale shifted, his wolf emerging powerful and controlled. No mindless beast. Just strength and grace and perfect awareness. Then he howled, the sound pure and joyful. The packs joined him, hundreds of voices rising in harmony. I couldn't howl. Couldn't add my voice to theirs. But through the bond, through the connection we shared, my voice joined Kale's. Silent to everyone else, but real to us. I love you, I thought. Monster, king, mate, I love all of you. And I love you, he answered. My silent strength. My voice of destiny. My Elara. Later, long after the celebrations ended, we walked together to the place where I'd first jumped from the cliff. The river rushed below, dark and dangerous. Do you regret it? Kale asked aloud. Giving up your spoken voice? I shook my head, signing. I traded spoken words for something deeper. A voice that doesn't need sound. A connection that transcends language. You're happy? I turned to face him fully, cupping his face in my hands. Then I kissed him, pouring everything I couldn't say into that single gesture. When we pulled apart, his eyes glowed silver. I'll take that as a yes. I smiled and signed. Some truths are too powerful for words. And some love too deep for sound, he agreed, pulling me close. We stood there as the moon climbed higher, two souls bound by fate and choice, by silence and roar, by everything we'd lost and everything we'd found. I'd spent 8 years in silence, thinking it made me weak. But in the quiet spaces between heartbeats, in the moments when words failed and only feeling remained, I discovered my true voice. And it was powerful enough to save a king, break a curse, and change a world. Some called me the Silent Queen. Others called me the voice of destiny. But in Kale's arms, in the safety of our bond, I was simply Elara. And that was enough. More than enough, Kale's thought echoed mine. Always, I agreed. And in the silence that followed, comfortable, complete, perfect, we found our forever. I know you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this. Do well to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Send this video to family and friends. Thanks for watching. The end.